My prediction for Final Fantasy XVI is that Leviathan won't show up until we put it together. Let me explain. Whether you're new or old here, welcome to the Returner's Hideout. I've got the flu, but I didn't want to wait anymore to get this out. Now, if you haven't seen the trailer yet, check the pinned comment for the link. I'm not going to cover it here, but if you wanted to watch some really solid analysis videos, check out Night Sky Prince's 14-minute long video on it. It's super good, and I love that guy. The new trailer is a gorgeous 4.5-minute romp through the kingdoms and settings in which Final Fantasy XVI takes place. It's stunning, and you should definitely go watch it if you haven't. It's super worth it. And if you have seen it, well, go ahead and prime yourselves for a couple of things that I found that were super interesting. First of all, I found something that everyone missed right here during this scene about the 3-minute mark. We see and hear a female narrator who I don't believe is Jill talk about being a puppet and getting kicked around. However, listen ultra closely. I'll play it again. Did you hear anything intelligible? Because I didn't and I still don't. However, pop on those captions real quick. Prime or the girl dies is what's being said at this point, but I legitimately hear nothing like that spoken, and the line only exists in the captions, except maybe it's a different language altogether. I mean, according to Square Enix's Final Fantasy XVI website, there is a kingdom that speaks another language, the Iron Kingdom, but this land looks nothing like this land. So for now, we'll move on. Now, the argument could be made that this is clearly part of YouTube's auto-captioning system, and to that I say no. You know what, you explain to me how something as silly as Waloed is spelled this way, and it's also spelled like that in the captions and not this way or this way. But that leaves the question then, what does it mean to prime? And to that, I don't have much to offer. Dictionaries say it's to ultimately prepare someone or something for a particular situation. And I don't know, it's almost presented in the trailer as if it's something that's widely understood. It doesn't say prime the dominant for this situation, it just simply says prime where the girl dies. Collins Dictionary makes an interesting point. To say that something is in its prime means that it's the strongest it can become. So is priming essentially the act of summoning one of these icons or even becoming an icon like young Joshua here? Leave your thoughts in a comment while we head on to the next big thing I covered in the intro. But also, if you haven't noticed, I have a shirt and I have this here coffee mug. Returner's Hideout has merch. Link in the description if you want to buy anything. There's all sorts of things to choose from, including aprons and water bottles, stickers and hoodies, and anything you buy directly supports the channel, so if you do buy anything, I highly appreciate it. Thank you so much. And now on to the big moment, Leviathan. A lot of people expect and predict that Leviathan will be available closer to the end of the game, and I have to 100% agree. I completely agree with them, but it's not because it's in this painting. Look at this painting. Is this safe for Sephiroth? Actually, I think this creature at the top might be a fusion of Ifrit and Phoenix, but anyway, back to Leviathan. It's because of something completely unrelated to the trailer. Well, kind of. You see, in the trailer, characters make mention of something called Drake's Breath, and at first this completely threw me off. What's a Drake's Breath? I watched the rest of the trailer and completely forgot about it just because I loved it so much, and there were so many things that got me excited as an older fan of the series. That is, until I went to the Final Fantasy XVI website. There I saw something that stopped me dead in my tracks. Drake's Breath, Drake's Head, Drake's Spine, Drake's Fang, Drake's Tail. Do you see what I'm getting at? These are all mother crystals attached to various kingdoms. I fully predict that Leviathan at the end of the game has to be put together in order to get to its dominant, or maybe to open up the final place in the game. I mean, a Drake is a serpent or dragon, right? Leviathan is kind of both. I see a few references to Final Fantasy IV throughout this whole thing, but this is the main one for right now. If the party is going around gathering the mother crystals, something that the king or whatever of Rosaria says in the trailer,
at the very least, we must secure Drake's Breath.
Isn't that a bit like Golbez flying around the world gathering crystals for the same reason? Even going so far as to attempt to get rid of summoners because of their power? Some people speculate that the final area of the game will be at a few different kingdoms mentioned in the trailer, and I think those might be wrong also. I think the final dungeon of the game will be here in the Crystalline Dominion, simply for no other reason than the fact that it sits at the heart of Valistia, and in a few other Final Fantasy games in the past, including Final Fantasy 1 and 5, there's mention of the final area of the game popping up in the middle of all these other kingdoms. Think Chaos Shrine being in the middle of an invisible X in Final Fantasy 1. There's several other tiny things like the slight references to Final Fantasy 4, such as some of the dominants being treated like monsters, similar to Rydia and her mother's dragon, or if you wanted to put it in Final Fantasy 16's terms, the Mist Dragon's dominant, and the little tiny nod to Final Fantasy 6 in the trailer's music. Side note, I speculate that a war was caused by, get this, an item, and no one in Final Fantasy VI is talking about it. This is my best theory to date.